Okay, it is 9 o'clock on Monday, March the 9th, 2020, and I call Potter County Commissioners Court to order. Today we have Mike Martin with South Florida Baptist Church and your invocation. So if you will please stand for that and remain standing for the pledge.
Let's pray. Almighty God, we read the newspaper this morning, and it says we have so much to worry about with the coronavirus and governments responding by quarantining people. We got the stock market in free fall, and we know that you're bigger. Father, we pray that you give us peace. We pray that you give this court wisdom today as they make decisions. I pray, Father, that your presence would be felt here, that we would know that you are God, that you are all-powerful, all-knowing, ever-present, merciful and gracious. We fall on you, and we thank you in Jesus' name.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, before we get started today, we have a special presentation, so commissioners will follow me out here just for a second. This is fun. I like this. This is the one part we like. Okay. We have Eva, let's say your name for me, Barba, from Travis School. Come on up here. She's gonna be deputy sheriff of the day, or sheriff of the day. Sheriff of the day. She gets day off. Okay, I'm gonna swear her in. Now Eva is a seventh grader at Travis School, right? And she's always wanted to be a law enforcement, so I'm gonna make that happen today. And she's gonna follow the sheriff everywhere he goes. So, I'm gonna swear you in, okay? Just put you right here so everybody can see you. Put you right in there. Cameras can look at you. That means you can turn and look at me and raise your right hand. Your other right hand. Okay, I, state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of peace officer of the state of Texas, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state. And I furthermore solemnly swear that I have not directly or indirectly paid, offered, or promised to pay, contributed, or promised to contribute any money or thing of value, or promised any public official or employment, any public official, as a reward to secure my appointment as such peace officer. So help me God. Okay. You're actually gonna wear this badge all day, and she's gonna be the sheriff for the day. All right, Sheriff. 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 All right. Thanks.
Barba, B-A-R-B-A.
All right, first thing on the agenda is a recognition of minutes from the February 24, 2020 meeting. So recognizing that, the vouchers to consider and act upon the approval of the payment of vouchers processed by the county workers office February 19 through March 4, 2020. Check numbers 189741 to 190003 and wire transfers 1370 through 1374 in the amount of $3,447,931.11. Have a motion.
I move we approve vouchers as presented.
Second for quick discussion. Carry page 23 of 33, check number 189988, $750, the handwriting investigator. I didn't know, I don't see that often on the vouchers, and I didn't know if this was, if we have a vendor that we contract with, or if it's just per minute or per hour, how that's charged.
When the appointment is made, the judge determines a limit to how much can be used. And they are rare, but it is the judge's determination.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Judge.
A motion and a second on the table, raise your hand. 4-0. Insurance update, Kay, is there anything?
There's nothing unusual on the insurance report, but I did want to make the court aware of one thing. We had an email come through Friday morning from Aetna, and in response to the coronavirus, they are opting to waive co-pays for testing for coronavirus when necessary, and also for telemedicine. We had to make a decision on Friday whether we were gonna opt out of that or go ahead and accept that waiver. I did talk to Judge Tanner and Commissioner Kelly, and we were all in agreement that we needed to waive those co-pays, so that was done on Friday.
Okay, thank you.
Stay right where you are.
Yes, I'm going nowhere.
Insurance report was so recognized. Time Clock Plus to hear a report on Time Clock Plus and take any action necessary.
Well, we're still in process of the implementation of Time Clock Plus. We did upgrade to version 7. You all should have a handout in your packet showing a list of all the departments that are currently on Time Clock Plus. It's been running smoothly. We upgraded to version 7 on February the 6th, and the system is now running smoothly. We did have just some learning curve for the end users. And then there was a little bit of work to be done with some of the codes, but it's all going well now. The county judge will be re-added on the 13th, March 13th. And then we're gonna begin bringing on the sheriff's department with, on a test basis with transportation. There are 12 employees in transportation that will be coming on. We're scheduled to meet with them on the 12th, and go live for that is scheduled for the 30th. There's a little bit of lag there between the initial meeting and the go live because of some vacations that were scheduled. And so we should go live with transportation on the 30th. And then continued implementation in the sheriff's office will be dependent upon how that implementation goes and how it goes with transportation. And so it's to be determined as far as what the next steps are.
So Kate, thank you for the handout. It was very helpful to see who is live. I know this has been at least a 6 or 7 year implementation.
6, I believe.
Okay, process. How many county employees do you think are on the payroll system now, the Time Clock Plus system now?
Oh, I don't have a count. I didn't think to take that count of the number of employees that are on. There's a good number of employees on.
Do you think it's half? It'll be at least a half?
Well, we lack, I can tell you what we lack. I've got a count of that. We're lacking 70
Okay,
employees that, not counting the sheriff's office, that have opted not to come on Time Clock Plus.
okay,
Who've declined their elected officials, or all that some elected officials have declined come on.
So
Most are very small departments.
So the sheriff's office is the largest that's left in terms of employee
Yes.
count? Okay, I just always watch that count because I have two things in my mind is roughly our budget is 60% salary. So in lack of using this system, everyone's using their own individual kind of spreadsheets or process. And when an employee leaves, in particular vacation time that needs to be paid out, we've had a lot of scenarios that we've had to discuss at the court. Some that went to even mediation, right? So that's kind of the hat that I have on, is to make sure that we have as many employees on this system so we have a good uniform system.
And of the departments that are not on, the sheriff's department currently has a timekeeping system that they've been using. It's very effective. And also the other large department that's not on is the district attorney, and they also have their own processes and manage those. So we do have time records.
Of the 70, are they reporting to you?
They're reporting time, yes. They're turning in time.
What about accrual rates? The vacation is what has got us for the comp time.
They're on the, we annually, they turn in accrual rates.
Can we make that a little more often, like quarterly?
We could request it quarterly. We do it annually for auditing purposes, but
Well, I'm
we,
concerned about it getting overextended and, somebody quits or gets fired, we gotta pay them, a ton of money.
we can certainly request it quarterly if that's what the court
Yeah,
wants us to
because that
do.
has happened, I mean, several times.
Okay. So do you want us to begin requesting those accrual balances quarterly?
That's a fair ask,
Okay.
especially if they're not using the uniform system that's been provided.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, number 5, WTAMU, to hear a discussion on the economic impact of WT on Randall and Potter County. Dr. Wayne. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you all. Thank you, Judge Tanner, for the opportunity to visit with that. I just want to share with you, we finished an economic impact study by a group, MC. They've done about 2,000 of these labor market analysis studies all across the nation. They're from Idaho themselves. And I think this is a very careful, thoughtful study. Sometimes these are used for public relations purposes, but I really do believe this is a fair call, and we were very careful about that and deliberate. We wanted to make sure that what we were given was something that would be of value to us to assess our impact on the region. And it turns out that our collective, and I've given you copies of the study, you're not going down now, but then there's quite a bit of detail. And there's also a very dense document with a lot of discussion and so on that is about 70 pages, and it's referenced in this kind of executive summary that we have here. Our economic impact on the region is some $722 million a year, which is a significant economic impact. We have a lot of employees, almost 1,000 employees that are paying taxes in Randall and Potter County and the communities associated with Randall and Potter County. And the university is continuing to, from my perspective, we're thriving. Things are going along well. The enrollment's about flat, but right now for a regional university in Texas, that's good, because a lot of universities are down more. The smaller universities, not big ones, not Texas Tech, University of Texas, Texas A&M, they're doing fine. But the smaller universities, because of the shrinking number of college-ready high school graduates, number one, and number two, competition from out of state. We have the University of Oklahoma State, LSU, Alabama, they're up here all the time, recruiting students from Potter County and Amarillo ISD, and likewise in Randall County. And we're pushing back hard on that. I just concluded a visit, a couple of years ago, I visited all of the high schools in the top 26 counties, some 66, and I just finished in January, visited my 66th high school in what's called Region 17, which would be all of the communities around Lubbock. So I visited every high school between Klondike in the south and Booker in order to try to encourage people to give thought to staying here in the Texas Panhandle to study, and then what's more important, staying here in the Texas Panhandle to work when they conclude their studies to contribute to the economic productivity of our region. So I'm very pleased with that, and I think the details in this report are worth taking a look at, just to see the overall impact. We're especially pleased with the Harrington Academic Center downtown. We just made a commitment of $6 million. We've selected the architects. Last week, we selected the contracts. We're gonna start construction in the next couple of weeks to finish out the second floor. It's like a sandwich. The first floor in the basement is done. Second floor is shelled out and finished. And of course, the third floor is done. We have a number of programs down there already. But this completion, this $6 million investment, will allow us to move the second 2 years of our nursing program to downtown, which works very well for us. It's more closely associated than with hospitals, and we want to make a contribution to downtown Amarillo, and I think this will be a good one. We'll bring about 260 or 70 students and about 30 staff, so almost 300 people now will move downtown, and the dean of the nursing school will actually be downtown, so there'll be some administrative offices and so on. So it's going to be it's a substantial commitment we're proud of making, and we think it's going to be helpful to downtown just in terms of daily trade. I mean, like 300 people in the center here of Potter County. But we're excited about what we're doing. I just wanted to give a brief update. I didn't want to take a lot of time, and of course, I'd be willing to answer any questions. We've had a very we're proud of our men's basketball team. They did very well this weekend. They overcame a 17-point. I had to quit listening to it. It's hard on a fellow my age, so I quit listening to it. But we overcame a 17-point deficit and ended up leading by almost that many points. This is a scrappy basketball team. They're kind of gritty. They're like the people who panhandle. They know how to work. They put their heads down and get the job done. And we're really proud. And there'll be a lot of traffic in town because we're going to host the regionals, the NCAA regionals here, so we're excited. Football team did well in the new stadium. That stadium had we had the fourth highest average attendance this past season in Division II football nationally. And that's a lot of schools in a lot of places, and we went from 0 to 60 and nothing flat. We got on campus. And it's been a great experience. I'll ask you all to come sometime to a game, and it's really a great experience. And, even Pat Hickman, I shouldn't say this on the record, but even Pat Hickman, who was not, he wanted to stay over there, and I understand why. There's a tremendous tradition over there at Kimbrough Field, and Pat wanted to stay, and he told me that the day I got here. He said, "I don't want to move that football stadium." I said, "I understand. We're going to look at it very carefully." We did. We decided to move it. He came to the first game, and at the end of the game, he said, "I was wrong." I said, "Pat, I'm getting a little older and my hearing is failing me. You don't have to worry." He said, "I was wrong." He said, "This is a great stadium, and the tailgates and everything have been wonderful." So we're pleased with that. Of course, we're building the Bureau Center on the campus. We have almost 250, I think 240 and change students enrolled in pre-vet programs. Many of those students will help fuel the programs here at Texas Tech's Vet School when it gets going, and of course they'll participate in Texas A&M's program also, and others. And we're very pleased. We send more students to Texas A&M's Vet School right now than any other school in the United States, with the exception of Texas A&M. So we're feeding that program, and we will help feed this one at Texas Tech, I think, very nicely. So we're excited for a lot going on down there.
Couldn't tell how excited you were.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes,
From your accent, you must be from East Texas.
Yeah, I am. I'm from the furthest reaches of East Texas, a place called Brooklyn. You can't get much more East Texas.
I have to admit, my daughter went through a nursing program about 20 years ago, and she's been a nurse at Northwest for the past almost 21 years. Great program.
And I appreciate that. And we have, I think, excellent working relationships with both Northwest and BSA. So we're excited about all that, and they're gonna help us build new programs to try to both increase the draw of nurses to come to the region and then stay in those hospitals, number one. And then number two, to do everything we can to help with the retention of nurses by possibly engaging them in clinical teaching and so on to make them a vibrant part of the nursing schools. That's not new ideas, but we are committed to.
So 2 quick comments and then a couple of questions. So, first off, I had the opportunity to join your WT 125 strategic planning.
Yes, ma'am.
So kudos to your leadership, really looking very forward around what will the campus just look like, right? What will the students look like? What will the needs be? What will transportation look like? So I think it was a very interesting way to do strategic planning, and quite frankly, the way it should be done, right? You look with the end in mind. So I wanted to just publicly give you kudos for that. And then a lot of your press has been a president of a university saying, don't come here to take out debt, right? You don't really hear that tone a lot, and I know it's definitely got some statewide recognition because it's not a topic you usually hear at the table to say, start local when you're ready to transfer and you can afford to do that. We'd love to have you as a student. So I think the messaging has got some attention. And we know college debt is a national topic. So I wanted to say thank you for your vision around that, because I feel like there was a little bit of an undercurrent when your messaging started to come out to say, what is he talking about? Is our enrollment gonna drop, right?
Right.
So it just speaks to the partnership with a local junior college like Amarillo College. So I just wanted to say thank you for those 2 items specifically. 2 questions. The first one on the doctoral program, that you have entered that space really in education. Do you have plans for other career paths? I mean, I think it's an interesting niche, and I think the closest is Texas Tech in terms of a competitor that offers that particular field of study. What are the plans for WT for the doctoral growth?
Okay, and that's a very good question, Commissioner, and I appreciate it. Our doctoral program in education is intended to educate and train leaders generally in smaller school systems. I've been to school systems pre-K through 12 that have 100 students in pre-K through 12. You don't have to know much about arithmetic to recognize that's less than 10 per year. I mean, those are small systems. And those systems, in my mind, require a different kind of leadership. So our doctorate is one of the very few in America. As a matter of fact, it's the only one that is completely focused on smaller school systems, which I think is very important. It doesn't mean that people can't come and study there and work at AISD or Canyon Independent School District. They can, but the primary focus is on these smaller school systems. And everybody said to me, it's a little bit like rolling out this idea of encouraging people not to become indebted in the first 2 years and go to community college. Everybody said that's too narrowly focused. Well, the first year we thought we got 15 students. That was a year ago, January. We ended up with 50 applicants, 40 of whom were completely qualified. We ended up taking 30 by hiring some additional faculty. So the message and the mission of that doctoral program has resonated with the people in the outlying areas. And we have people from Canyon ISD and Amarillo ISD also enrolled in the program. But job one is those smaller schools, because there's so many of them. That program is moving along with the second cohort of students. And by the way, this is all online, so people can continue to work. This is another thing that's changing. The average age of the student at West Texas A&M right now is 28. And it's not that they come as freshmen and can't graduate, although there's a little bit of we need to do better and get people out. But the reason the average age is creeping up is because many students that are adult learners that have families and have jobs are coming to school because of our distance education programs. We expect that to continue. And our goal is to continue to offer programs that have high accessibility for people that are employed. The way most of us went, the way I went to school, everybody in the school looked just like me, especially at Texas A&M. They looked just like me, except they weren't from Brooklyn. Other than that, they looked just like me. And it was, the world has changed dramatically in these nearly 50 years since I graduated. And we're working hard to do that, not just in the doctoral program in education, but in all of our undergraduate and graduate programs. Increase flexibility through distance education. And we think it's gonna make us successful and attractive to different kinds of learners. Our first priority is always gonna be the Texas Panhandle and the South Plains to some extent, but first, right here where we started, in the Panhandle. So, you know, we graduated, in terms of doctorate in education, 72% of the teachers and administrators in the top 26 counties of Texas, 72% have at least one degree or certificate from West Texas A&M University. So if our people in education down there on the campus say, gosh, you know, these educators aren't doing a good job out there, there's three fingers pointing back at us because we educated 3 out of 4 of them. So it's, I think, a sense of responsibility and purpose to the people is very important. So that program is doing well. And in terms of other doctoral programs, we are right now, there's a meeting on campus right now. We're looking at an integrated degree between business, agriculture, and engineering that looks at water utilization for agriculture. And the whole program is going to be focused on water in this region and the things we can do to increase its effectiveness, how we use it, how we recycle it, how we extract it, and how we desalinate it when we get too deep, and so on and so forth. So we're very committed to those kind of programs, and we're going to make an interdisciplinary doctorate, largely in ag and engineering, that looks at that very subject. So we've got a grant of $1 million to start it, Chancellor's Research Initiative grant, and we're hiring faculty and moving forward with this. So little by little, we will engage more doctoral and master's education commissioner, little by little. We want to do it very carefully, and we want to do it with the sharpest possible focus that we can use so that we're investigating issues that are important to this region of Texas. And don't misunderstand this, I'm not interested in the problems of Houston, the University of Houston, Rice University, and other places down there. I'm interested in the problems and challenges of the Texas Panhandle first. And we'll get students from Houston, it'll happen. But we're committed to this region first.
Yeah, thank you for that. And then my final question is, as it relates to the Old ACE New Thrive Scholarship. So part of that change was only 2 years were granted to a student, right? And those 2 years were at Emerald College. So when I think about the constituents in Potter County, we really have 2 ends of the income spectrum that live in Potter County. So I definitely have an interest to make sure that we break poverty cycles, and I believe education is the pathway to that. And specifically, at least a bachelor's moving forward to really break that generational poverty cycle. So I guess my question to you is WT allocating any special transfer dollars to help those 2 years moving into the 4 year? That was really kind of gray when that decision was made, I want to say 1.5 years ago now at this point. It was just 2 years at AC, which is great, but it doesn't solve the 4-year break poverty cycle in my mind.
Right. And I appreciate that question too, Commissioner. It's an insightful question. We have increased fairly dramatically the guaranteed scholarships to transfer students, not just from Amarillo College, but Amarillo College is our greatest feeder of transfer students. We have a very fine working relationship. And as that program shifted, it alerted us to the fact that we need to find some other things to do. So we are trying desperately to first find more money for transfer scholarships, and we have done that. As a matter of fact, and this is we're not in competition with Texas Tech, we're in competition with ourselves to do a better job. But our transfer scholarships now, if you look at them and look at our costs, which are low compared to pretty much any other university, especially larger universities in the state of Texas, it doesn't take much of a transfer scholarship to create, I'll say, a better deal for students who transfer to us because our costs start out so low. So, but we're doing that, and if I encourage students and families, don't just look at the sticker price of the university, look at the actual cost to you as a student. And if a student transfers, there's a guaranteed transfer scholarship, as long as they have a 2.0 GPA of, I believe it's $2,000, and I'm sorry, I could be wrong, but
Okay.
if I am, it's not intentional, it could be $1,500, it might be $2,500. And then there's some special ones for students who have distinguished themselves at a place like Andover College, so that they can, we can reward them in a sense based on their meritorious performance. In other words, if somebody comes with a 3.7 or 3.8, they'll get more money than the student who finishes but was more of an average performer. On top of that, and I don't want to take too long, on top of that, we are working diligently to make sure that the courses that students take at all community colleges have a higher likelihood to transfer and count in the curriculum that they want to study in. Here's the problem. Somebody will call, this doesn't happen anymore. Someone will call West Texas A&M University, they say, I've taken Math 101 and I'll use Clarendon College. At Clarendon College, will it transfer to Texas A&M, to West Texas A&M, sorry, I lapsed. Will it transfer to West Texas A&M University? And the person on our end of the phone says, what was the course? And they say, it was Math, I'll say 101. And they look at their transfer list, and sure enough, it'll transfer. The student gets here and they want to study engineering. That Math 101, which is college algebra, it'll transfer, but it doesn't transfer for engineering. So the problem is we have to be more articulate with students, and I keep telling students, ask pointed questions. If you want to study nursing, make sure the math course that you take is one or either higher than or of an entry-level course that's required for nursing. And we have not done as good a job in being transparent with students. We just answer the questions. Will it transfer? Yes. So many students, 80% of the students in college in the United States change their major at least once, and many 3 or 4 times. So it's hard, but I think if we continue to talk to students and encourage them to focus on what it is they want to study, we can serve them better. So transfer scholarships at low cost, plus no wasted hours. Dallas Morning News just ran an editorial a couple of weeks ago, and they said that Texans waste $50 million annually in courses that won't transfer from a community college to a senior institution. So we want to be careful about that.
Well, now that WT has received the accreditation of an HSI, a Hispanic Serving Institution,
Yes, ma'am.
that'll be interesting to see what that undercurrent looks like, so thank you
Yes,
for
ma'am.
that.
I just have one question for you. It has nothing to do with education.
Football?
It's about football.
Oh, good.
My grandson plays on the varsity at Cameron. They play at Kimbrough. As you know, there's a huge incline. I refuse to take the old lady car up there. Are they gonna fix that? Are they gonna
Yes.
level that out? at
Yes,
some point?
actually now, this season, you'll be able to walk from
This
the
is
parking
important
lot.
to me.
Well, you'll be able to walk from the parking lot, and this was one of the challenges for us. That just shows you what the world was like pre-ADA. You could do that kind of thing, and I'll tell you what, I rode that golf cart one time.
Yeah.
And I thought that thing might do like a wheelie. It's a steep
It's
hill.
even worse going down. It's really hard on the old lady's knees going down.
Yeah, because you have to hold
Yeah.
yourself in the seat, or just slide out the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I've never taken the car. I will if they don't fix it, but
No,
I'm
no, it's,
hoping that they
it's,
fix
it's fixed now.
Okay, good.
And I just spoke with Derek Fucci not long ago about it, because when that came up, I didn't want to dump that stadium on somebody. We did a very careful analysis of what needed to be done, and we found the cost to fully renovate that and bring it up to current standards in every way was about the same for us as building a new stadium. 'cause we
Oh,
didn't
it's a
have
great
it.
stadium.
And it's a great stadium, and it's gonna work, they're gonna build another school down there, and they're gonna have 3 high schools. We couldn't coordinate for 3 high schools and WT to play football there, just didn't work.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you for all the information. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much for the
Thank you.
opportunity to visit, I appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much. Number 6, Center City 2020, to consider and act on approval of the use of the county courthouse grounds for Highland Square for the dates June 3rd, 10, 17, 24, and July 1, 8, 15, 22, and 29, plus August 5th, and everything else.
Mrs. Duke, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. You know, following, the WT report, Dr. Windler, and talking about the Harrington Academic Hall, it was just a treasure. And for those of us who grew up here and remember shopping at Fedway Department Store, and now it's a beautiful academic center, just so exciting that that's right here, right our neighbor. I'm back again to talk about hunting on the square. We had an amazing year last year. People were beginning to get used to the new parking management system downtown. I know that continues to be a challenge, but we're excited. We would love to be able to come back and bring this wonderful community event back to our beautiful grounds here at Potter County Courthouse. You have the most beautiful green space in our downtown, and we are proud to carry on a 26-year tradition of having Hyman on the square here. You know, we didn't move it during any of the courthouse renovation, any of the construction, and we just believe it's a big part of the tradition. We average between 400 and 600 people each week, and that's something we hope to continue. We use all local talent. They donate their time. We use all local caterers. They make us a good deal. We try to keep our meal price at $8 so that it's available to people who come. And we just would love to play on your lawn again and show the community what an amazing, amazing place this Potter County Courthouse and the Courthouse Square are. So that's what we're asking is for that permission.
Mick, got something to say about that, don't you? You didn't want to do it anymore, is that right?
He's a little busy. I know he's a little busy this year.
No, I don't have a problem with it. I worry a little bit about parking.
Just to,
We all worry a little bit about.
Yeah, it's gonna be a challenge, and, you know, that's part of our mission is to make downtown better, and this construction is gonna make downtown better. It's just figuring out which streets are closed. I know, where's Julie? Oh, Julie. Julie saw me try to turn onto a blocked 6th Avenue, and I didn't realize it was blocked there, but I did realize it, and then immediately made eye contact with the county clerk and went on my way.
Did she guide you through it?
Well, I was good. I didn't try to
Did she
move
just
a barrel or barrier, so I was very good.
I move that we approve the use of the courthouse grounds for hanging on the square for June 3, 10, 17, 24, and July 1, 8, 15, 22, and 29, plus August 5th.
Thank you.
Second for a quick comment, if I may, just
Thank you.
take a vote.
Thank you.
And I did mention this to Beth prior to before about the extra trash cans that have been purchased to support it, so maybe a way to mitigate that so the taxpayers aren't offsetting that expense. That would be great moving forward.
And I didn't realize that. I'm glad you brought that to my attention. We bring our own trash cans and we pay for the portable restroom, but I didn't understand what was happening after the event. So I'm gonna get with Nick and try to work that out.
Great, thank
The
you.
main thing we're trying to do, because we know this year, many people will be paying for parking, we're gonna try so hard to keep that meal price at $8.
Sure.
So as a nonprofit, if I need to raise more money, I'll just be asking people to raise more money.
Last year, didn't the city agree to pull off their parking meter woman for a while during that event? Or
What we did was, because it was a transitional year, we just kind of worked with them, and now that jurisdiction has been transferred to the city municipal court. So I'll be working with them to see
Okay.
ways we can work on that, because, you know, you never want your cook to get a ticket. You don't want your caterer to
no,
get a
you
ticket.
did not.
No, we want our lunch, so that's good.
Okay.
But we love it, and we
We
just enjoy it.
To include the use of the Santa Fe building parking lot during conflicts at Polk Street.
Okay, thank you.
Do you need a resecond? Yes. Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Thank you. We look forward to a wonderful season, and we'll figure it all out.
Okay.
And congratulations on your award this year.
Thank you.
All right. Number 7, tax share, to consider and act on the 2020 tax share court resource sharing addendum. Judge Jackson. You don't have to speak right now.
Very, very well.
Oh,
Watch. This is just the annual, for the resource sharing between Texas and Ohio County.
The money is budgeted, that's all that
Money
matters,
is
right? Okay.
budgeted, and we're actually a little under what was budgeted. So, I've got the copy here, we need to sign.
Is that, okay, is that what, all right,
I just think
okay.
Quick question, Carrie, as it relates to the dollar amount that we're budgeting, I know the first couple of years, we weren't sure where our estimate, lied. Is it still pretty accurate in terms of what we're budgeting?
This is about 10% over what it was last year,
10% over?
and about 61 last year.
So are there protections in this agreement to cap that increase?
I don't believe so, because of the way this agreement is written, we share their actual budget. It's just that's what you're asking, right? So it's-
It's Midland's gonna go on, they're involved in it also.
it's sort of like that next year.
And do we have someone that sits on that board, if I remember correctly, I don't know if that's Randall that sits on that, or you, so if you'll just help echo, because we're feeling that against a budget like Tarrant County that has a deeper budget. And I know when we bought this purchase, I was looking at some old notes, it was about a $720,000 purchase, three-fourths of a million. So I wish there was a clause in here that protected a county our size that wants to participate, but we don't have the dollars like a Tarrant County. And, it's a great program from what I hear. You guys use it and really like it a lot, so I'm gonna support that.
They are looking into the next 2 years, I think, into going into the cloud-based system.
Yes, I remember seeing that.
So that will also help security, things like that, what happened last year.
I'll move to approve the tech share of 2020 resource sharing agreement.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you, sir. Yeah, right after the poll, sign it. All right, number 8, road and bridge, to consider and act upon adjustment of salaries for 2 current positions in the road and bridge department, with no increase in overall salary expenditure. Good morning.
Good morning. I understand this is a little bit of a touchy situation here.
Not anymore.
When I took over, I started restructuring all of the salaries, so I made all the maintenance techs the same, all the operators the same, I have 2 crew leaders, and this is essentially a 3rd crew leader, but, he'll be at operator's wages, because he's at maintenance tech now. The 2 previous guys I had in that position had been here for more than 20 years, so they were making a lot more money than the crew leaders were at the time. Well, they moved on, so now that, they're gone, I need to put somebody in there that'll, take care of the equipment, take care of the 4 seasonal guys that we're gonna hire, and then also, handle any situations out there, and there's not any other supervisors around. There's a lot of responsibility with that position, so what I've done is try to take some of the money from the maintenance, the shop foreman, which is making a lot of money. I can't give him any more anyway, because then he'll be making almost as much as the top supervisor. And, that's where I'm at.
Any questions for Sebastian?
Well, I think it's a little slippery slope, right? When we have elected officials that can do what they want and not come to court, it really does hurt departments like your department, like Extension Office that we looked at last time, that don't come to the table very often. So it makes it difficult in my mind. You guys have a heavier lift because you have to ask. So I would make a motion to support this change, to support salary adjustments for 2 current positions in the road and bridge department with no increase in overall salary.
A motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian. Number 9, sale of county property. To consider sale of county-owned vacant lots at 901 and 905 South Jackson, and procedures for conducting such a sale. I will refer this to you. I think Sally, did you want to come on up? What I would like you to do is to tell them your exact plans as far as you know what they are, so they will understand that our property butts right up to where you guys are gonna do your deal, and how important it is for us to relinquish those.
Good morning, and, thank you for having me here. Appreciate the opportunity to give you our concepts and plans and what we'd like to do with that property. It's a little gratuitous that Dr. Whitman was here, because, it kind of goes with our vision of trying to keep our young people here. And with the additional 250 or 270 nursing students going into WT, and then also with the Amarillo College Innovation Hub, we really think that there's demand for additional living in downtown Amarillo that will support our community in a variety of ways. Of course, I think you guys know that my husband and I did the Firestone building at 10th and Tyler, which has been successful, but that being a historic rehab was very expensive, and so the rent price point for that is higher than what we like to do at the block on 10th between Van Buren and Jackson Street. And our vision is to put 50 living units there, apartments. And our goal is to have those apartments be in the $750 to $800 price point range, so that they're affordable, they're market rate, they're not low income, that would help support the students and professionals down here and just the downtown community as a whole. The reason that we would really like to get the county parking lots is from a construction point of view. If we do half of that block, we're looking at podium construction, so then you have parking underneath. You know, parking is always, a consideration, and you want to make sure you have ample parking for residents, so that they're not having to go and walk with their groceries, etc. So we're looking, our initial plan is 50 units. Most likely 40 would be 1 bedroom, the other 10 would be 2 bedroom, and we're still doing market studies to make sure we have the right price point, the right mix. WT has been very amenable to working with us and surveying their students to make sure that we did it right. But if we could acquire the additional parking space, that would help us construction-wise, because right now we don't have the total finance together to see, can we make this project work? So I have a couple of, I just want to give you a little idea of what we're talking about. I can pass this around. And just the difference in concept and design. This is kind of I've got some renderings that I'll pass. But this is just kind of the original concept and design to be something modern. We would be looking at tearing down those beautiful old buildings. We really tried to do a historic rehab on it, but there's just too many constraints on it. The buildings are in too bad shape, so we'd really like to start from scratch, and I think it'll be more cost effective. And let me see. This plan too kind of shows the amenities we would try to do. There'd be a pocket park, and on the southeast corner, we would envision a small market coffee shop. You know, we're really trying to push that. It's not going to be huge, but if we can offer fresh produce, quality, pre-mades, a place to gather, we think it'll really help the community, and then the pocket park will be on the front. And I'll pass these if anyone wants to see them.
Are you planning on any other retail at all?
Not at this point. It's really,
Okay.
we think residential, not as passive. But if we were able to acquire the back parking lots, we can see the difference in the rendering. That would afford us to go, and you can make the facade anything, but if we can do something cookie cutter, it's more cost effective. really trying to do, and then that allows us to either use those lots for surface parking or doing a modular approach, starting small. But, you know, and if it's successful, we'd love to add to it, but that's our vision, but before we spend any other dollars on either architecture, et cetera, we'd just like to see if we can have that opportunity.
Ms. Jennings, what's the total project cost for your 50 unit and this vision?
It's not estimated at this point, that's what we're waiting on, because podium construction is so different.
But you don't have a threshold like a 5 million, 10 million,
Well,
2
it
million?
would be between 180 to 225 a square foot.
Okay. How does that translate, if I'm not in the business of building, how does that translate to a dollar? Like surely, as you're vetting your project, you're on a personal level, right, for your company, you know the threshold of you can afford to put a $10 million project on the table. I'm just trying to get a gauge for the impact of that property.
Well, it would be between probably 8 and 10.
Okay, that's fair. I was gonna estimate around 6 to 8, so yeah, 8 to 10.
And it depends on the amenities, the cost, it's just a huge difference in price for construction.
And this property has been on our agenda several times, got voted down and then brought back. And so I guess my question to you, because I know that Judge Tanner put this on the agenda, so I would assume is advocating for this change. Are you coming to the county saying, look, we're interested in this property and we are looking at getting it at cost, which is roughly $18,000 a lot today. That's just market value today. Because we're in a little bit of an unusual position when we know that development should happen and we want to encourage. But we also, on behalf of the taxpayer, I wouldn't sell land that I wouldn't sell my own land any different, right? If there is a $5 million, $10 million project there, I would like to think that premium dollars going to be paid on that. Again, on behalf of the taxpayers, kind of the hat that I have on. Does that question make sense?
We have certain procedures we have to follow. And
Sure, no, I'm just having the
We
discussion.
can't say that that's what we're going to do.
Well, we're talking about it in public court, so what procedure are we not following, Commissioner Church? It's not an
When you
executive
When you
discussion.
start talking money, then you're starting to get into the business aspects. Competitors on either side,
It's a public
you
piece
know,
of
and that's
property.
just, I
We're not
don't
in
think
exec
that's
session.
appropriate in public use.
Then in my mind, it should be in an executive session discussion, if not, it's in public court, so I don't have a
I move we
space.
proceed with what we need to do legally to offer this property for sale.
Second, so that I can continue my comments, and I'm
But
not
just
cut
nobody
off.
else gets a chance.
You're welcome to ask questions, Commissioner Church, if I can finish my comments. Judge Tanner, is, as it relates to the property, are you looking at purchasing it at cost? Or are you saying, look, we have a development coming on the table, this property is very interesting to us, and we're looking at really making the county whole?
I'm not sure what you mean by making the county whole.
Something more than market value when we know that there's a big development gonna happen there.
Well, I think it would be fair market value.
So you're putting fair market on it, roughly, right?
I mean, it's,
Okay,
but.
that answers my question.
Makes sense.
That definitely answers my question. Thank you, Judge, for allowing me.
Is there anything that you would like to add, Ted? Is there anything? What would be our next step?
Well, the next step is to make, if you want to market the property, make a decision how to do that. It's either by a public auction or a sealed bid or listing the services as a broker. When you list the services as a broker, you have more flexibility to tailor the offering to a particular purpose, for example. And you have flexibility to accept or reject offers based on price, the abilities financially, for example, of people who want to develop the property, say they want to develop the property, the purposes for which the property is going to be used. So if the court wishes to market these lots, those are your options. If you use a public auction, then you really don't have the control of the say-so over how whoever submits the highest bid is going to use it.
Yeah, if I were in a public auction, I would buy the land, price it up, and then resell it, right? So if you're trying to cater around a particular buyer, then I hear you saying the broker is the approach. Is that correct, Tad? Which I think is the undercurrent that's,
Well, I said what I said, and that is that if you use a broker, you can consider a number of factors in how to evaluate offers.
which would, because we don't do this again, so it's where some of my questions are. Because we don't use brokers often, we did recently for the Amarillo Senior Citizens Project, but who zeroed out the expenses. What does that look like to the county? Are there fees that we then pay to the broker? I'm assuming so.
I would assume it's 10 to 6% commission. If you want to go that route, you don't have to go that route, you don't have to sell the property.
Right, I'm just trying to understand that we would pay a 6% commission on property that's being sold at market value. I'm just putting my Potter County hat on in the interest of the taxpayer. Definitely supportive of this project, I think it's great.
Broker commission is negotiable.
Right.
What was your motion again?
Just to pay the property, yes,
Okay. Yeah, so we have a motion and a second.
Are we clear?
No,
about this?
sorry.
Yeah,
We
pretty
don't
sure.
have a
I mean, you don't have a motion.
No, he called. We don't have a motion
Would you like to say?
unless we
it
were
again?
asleep.
Would you like to say it?
whatever we do, and I want to sell the property. I think that's pretty clear for the last 5 or 6 years that we've sat on this thing. We've owned this property for probably 30 years. Has done nothing for us, but we get money from the city to knock down our weeds, which is kind of an embarrassing situation. But anyway, we need someone to tell us where we have the most rights. In other words, if we don't want to accept the bid, do we have to accept it? We want to be able to sell the property at a reasonable price. For both sides. I don't think we're in here
No, we're
to
not.
mess with anybody.
She's not here to cheat us, and we're certainly not here to cheat you. A fair option would be the best bet to go, and so we just need a motion stating that, and a second can vote on this thing once and for all.
I'm not clear what legal counsel is recommending. And I think, Tad, you're saying here are the options, you guys really take the lead that you think is appropriate. I hear Commissioner Church ready to sell. I wouldn't disagree with those comments. My temperament is around more than market value, right? Like more than market price is where I think we should be at. So I guess hearing all that, we're looking to you to say, what is the approach this board should take if you've got a member of the board ready to make a motion to potentially sell?
Well,
I
I
don't know.
hesitate to stray into y'all's territory with policy, but we hired a broker for nothing to market 6th Street property. She might appreciate a chance to market a property where she could actually get a little commission. So that's one thought.
That was for her request, that's her father that she's helping through. I'm not disagreeing, she wouldn't probably like an opportunity, I mean, that's what other brokers do.
But she's lending her efforts
Sure,
to help put that property to
Sure,
very good
yeah.
use, and she's doing it for zero.
right, with an
It's
interest.
just that, okay, you asked, that's just a suggestion.
Okay.
All right, I'll get it off tonight.
Okay,
Let's hire a broker.
okay, make a motion.
Well, I have a motion on the floor. I'll withdraw that motion.
Okay, what's wrong?
The motion that I would move then that we offer the properties at 901, 905 South Jackson for sale, utilizing the broker.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, 3-1.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you very much.
10, tax office to consider and act upon refund of late payment penalty and necessary committee and imposed fee pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.0711 to city class council. Okay. Sherry's not here, and neither is her. We do have someone here, but she's looking at me like, don't call me, don't call me.
Sure, they brought the deeds over to our office, so once y'all approve these, they're in accordance with the backup items that Sherry presented you, so once y'all.
Judge, I'm confused
Well,
with
this is, yeah, this particular thing has nothing to do with the deeds. This is
There's-
on a refund of a late payment.
This one's a little different because.
Yeah.
These are on number 11. Right.
It's a penalty that was assessed.
Right.
We had, Sherry asked for legal advice. We gave it to her that distance can be made after the penalty, not only with the court. They signed, so rather than that, it's executive.
Okay. All right. Okay. It is 10 o'clock. We will recess for executive session and reconvene the next time.
Is this the back? Yes.
We'll take care of it. Okay, or you can email it or whatever. You're welcome. We're accommodating, man. You know. Except we don't have any more. Okay, I know where to go. Glad y'all are close.
That one first, and you just never beat the sickest one.
Hey, how are you? It depends. We don't ever say yes before we have the questions.
That's fair. So this week.
We know how to mess with them. And then, once we have the camera,
So, yeah, and I'll get the camera set up. I'll be in here this week, I'll get the camera set up and everything's on there. When it's not on the video. So Parker's being ready.
So far, it's working. I mean, I'm
Training for
she'll be the biggest.
my only question on that is which part, and is it the part that requires the administrative access? Which
I
part?
legislate really what they're gonna be using it, so that's where people can and look at the items and those kind of things, but the thing is that they're all gonna have this, they can, because that does nothing, those are just monitors you do that. So they would have to have something in order to go in there and make their notes on it, to look at the stuff, yeah. So,
Decent reading. Decent reading. That's good. And I'm sorry, I read fast. Did I forward you the calendar?
You did.
Okay, good.
yes, thank you.
The 13th.
Friday, really, Friday?
You said
I know, I was
anytime.
kidding. I'm just kidding. Fridays are good days.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Randy's still.
Well, they test him for everything.
and pneumonia, and he gets sick. And so he's been getting intubated. That's Wednesday. But, you know, he's actually getting a lot of that, he's always getting a lot of that. It's pleasure for me. No, I know, I'm just saying, and I'm talking to him, but he's just like. I think you just have to get to the point right now, just make. My situation just. She's a teacher now. Yes. Here at the medical center. I'm gonna go to the doctor today if I can get in, because my legs just hurt. And I'm one of those that's got the honest person that you know it will be very detrimental. Keep telling them to stay, keep getting If something happens here, I didn't have time to sit down.
Okay, it is 10:06, we are back. And I guess I need,
I move we approve the refund of a late payment penalty. Second. As presented.
have a motion and a second on the table. 4-0. Thank you. Under 11, Sheriff Sale Tax Office to consider and act upon the approval of the purchase of properties through the tax sale. These are the ones they do every year. Nothing unusual. And those are the ones you have for me to sign off on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Move to approve the purchase of the properties as presented, properties presented for tax sale.
Motion and a second on the table, as you know. Number 12, Bushland Independent School District School Resource Officers to consider and act upon approving a revision to interlocal agreement with Bushland ISD for school resource officers, increasing off-duty pay from $35 to $40 per hour.
Morning.
Good morning.
The sheriff was gonna speak about this, we stepped up on the interview, so that's all it is, just a revision, but
Okay,
we go from 35 to 40. So
that's typically what everyone else is doing, right?
absolutely, that's right.
And their, school board is aware this is.
They've already signed it,
Okay.
they've signed it, and the sheriff signed it, and the judge signed it, and we filed it, we should be good.
I make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement with Bushland ISD for school resource officers, increasing off-duty rate from 35 to 40 per hour.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the table. Thank you. Number 13, Sheriff's Office Cybersecurity to consider and act upon approving the Potter County Sheriff's Office to participate in tax cybersecurity training program.
Sure.
I think the sheriff talked to David about that.
Yeah, David, come on up too, because we're gonna discuss this anyway.
Before we get started, was the training we got from you satisfied with this?
No,
In-person
no.
training or the online training? No. Person, no. So we gotta do this?
Yeah.
Correct. You have to do something.
Yes. Okay. Thought we already did.
I had the same question before, I had the exact same question.
So, just for clarification, for compliancy, to expedite that for the county, I'm all for the TAC training. I think that's a good idea. The other training could be used, the other online training could be used for ongoing training. That way the county employees aren't, trying to rush through and get things done to market launch for compliancy. So in my mind, that's a good scenario. I would tell you, I found out this morning as I was looking at this, TAC requests that if people participate in their training, that the court do that for the entire county, not just for the department.
I might have to do it, so, which I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Totally good with that.
The more training, the better.
Yes, ma'am.
April the 19th is right around the corner, and I do not want to see that thing happen again,
Me neither.
ever.
Well, this,
We'll be off.
the whole reason TAC is like 45 minutes of training compared to this, which is, I think there's 80 different modules or whatever. and
I think it comes out about 18 hours.
So, I mean, it's just really gonna be, we're gonna be paying overtime or comp time for our people so they can't do it. Obviously, they can't do it themselves or whatever. So,
If comp time is an option, because I think that's really why it's on the agenda, is approval to use overtime. If comp time is an option, I would definitely lean in that direction versus overtime. But I'm not sure, so I wanted to put that on the table. And I don't know how many people we're talking about, how many hours of overtime, those are those kind of things.
but we got 240 employees, so we're gonna be, and if we have somebody that we take out of jail, we have mandated, people that we have to have mandated there, so we have to pay, they have the option, or overtime, because it's a mandate. In the jail.
Sheriff, the question we're asking is on the cybersecurity course, which I think everybody's all in favor of. It's a free training to get it done. If we can use comp time versus overtime, roughly talking about 250 employees of overtime. Is comp time an option?
You're making it a mandatory option for them that they have, this is mandatory training that they have to have.
Okay.
So-
How would that be any different than any T-Coast training, any other training that happens?
We provide training, it is overtime.
If we
It's
have
up to them if they want to do it.
In other words, they can pick
They
overtime or
can
comp
pick
time.
either one, I'm just telling you, they can pick either one.
Is
Another,
that true?
another unfunded mandate.
If we had to hire somebody that, or call somebody in to work for that person that's off taking training, then that's a mandated thing that they can get overtime. And that's what we budget for, but we didn't budget
Sure
for
didn't
it.
budget for this.
No, and nobody saw this one coming, but so if we're talking about 250 employees, I don't know, an hour and a half of overtime, I don't know the dollar amount, or the
We're talking
money.
about the 18 hours, with TAC, we can get through that, the 45 minutes, that's no problem.
Uh-huh.
You know, whether it be comp time, overtime, whatever, but the 18 hour, the other deal is.
The requirement, isn't it just the
It's just,
TAC deal?
you're right.
45
That
minutes.
meets the minimum requirement.
And that is all county employees that have access to a county employee, computer, and all elected officials.
Even the ones who don't have access, yes.
So David, are you saying that we do TAC and the other one too? It would be better to do both, or can we just do one or the other?
You could do just the TAC, but I wouldn't recommend it. The reason why, it does meet the minimum requirements, so the county could scratch off the compliance, and that would be the easiest, fastest way to do it. I would advocate for that, to get that taken care of, and then use the other training as ongoing training. So, there are a lot of modules in there, and I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at that. Some of those modules repeat, so you may have a 45-minute module, and then the same material broken out into 10-minute sections, with the idea of the users get a better chance of retaining and learning rather than just check the box. The way I read this is a yearly thing, we have to do this yearly. Yeah, and also, you weren't here for this first part, I found out this morning that in order for the county to use TAC, the entire county, yeah, I think it's fine.
So-
I got an email from the ladies down there, Friday, it has to be a county-wide thing, that we just sign up for.
So if y'all, maybe just more of a question to David, so if we do this TAC training here, and then we have the other 18 hours for you, is the timeline gonna be pushed back? Because right now,
The TAC training won't, that for compliancy, that's mid-June.
No, but
The other one,
that-
absolutely.
okay,
Yeah,
because it is,
absolutely,
because
that's-
our department, what
Correct.
we've had to do, because we serve the public, we can't have them sitting there listening to headphones. So we've pulled them off, and so what they're doing is they're trying to go through and try to get all this done within the day, and they're not able to. So that is one of the things that would be beneficial if we could push all of that back, because it does.
I think it would work better, we do have users who have completed all that training. My question too is the June that's on the TAC, is that the date of the deadline for just TAC, or is that the deadline
Yes.
for everything?
All for compliance, just the TAC, it would be just the TAC.
The problem is that, I mean, I just don't have the people to sit around and do that. You know, and it's an individual training, so that's an hour. But they've got to sit down, if we just did TAC, that's an hour, that they're out of commission as far as working wise. And we're making 30-minute walkthroughs every 30 minutes that are required by the state. Not to count anything else, medical, but we've got to think of medical, food, feeding, and all that kind of stuff, visitation. So it's just not, very friendly to us large agencies. And again, I mean, I'm not saying anything about you guys, I just thought maybe this would be another workaround. And we talked, David and I talked, I mean, I'm not opposed to if I can get them, 5 minutes here or 5 minutes there, to go ahead and do something of it. It's just those 45 minutes. And the whole, and the deal with the TAC thing is we were looking at seeing if we couldn't do, I could get 10 in the classroom and do it. And of course, she told me that it was an individual basis, they sign it in and that kind of stuff. It's just something we're looking at, see if we can't do that, where it's not just sit there.
So just
That would make it a lot easier if they did it in the classroom instead of doing it.
So to clarify, because I wanna make sure I understand what's on the table, we're talking about participating in the TAC-free cybersecurity training, finishing it by June 14th, so that we meet the requirement.
Yes, ma'am.
That's like the primary thing we're after.
Correct.
And then for departments like the sheriff's office, who need to pull people off the job for this training, for the 1-hour training, 45 minutes. You guys are good working that in your current process, or you're asking for overtime for these people?
It depends on if I can do it as a classroom setting or for my own individual.
And do we know that?
Yeah, I'm still waiting on the response
Okay.
from that. I got that link Friday. and-
Okay, no, that's fair. And I guess the hat that I have on is if it leans towards overtime, when I think about that number of employees, where is that budget dollar coming from? That's really my only question.
That's the question for Austin. You know, and I'm not trying to be rude, I mean, that's, they come out with all this mandatory training, but yet we don't get anything to help fund that.
Yeah.
And this is a big one here, that now we all have to do this, and you've got at least 45 minutes. I mean, I got 31 people, or 35 people on the day shift in the day that have to do that, so that's 35 hours of overtime. Right there. That's not counting anything that if we're shorthanded or anything like that, or I gotta run somebody to the hospital and sit out there, whatever it is.
Yeah, when
Is this a program that they can sit and work on in their spare time and then leave it and go back and do something else, or can they stay?
Well, that's the thing, I mean, if, let's say the 45-minute thing, you can be sitting there working on it, you gotta go do your walkthroughs or whatever. If it times out, you fail that section.
Oh, then, okay.
You fail that piece. Now, you can still take the other 5 minutes, or you can do the 5 minutes here and there. But if you miss, then you can come back to those after you finish. But if you stop in the middle of that 45 minutes and it times out, keep them there. You flunked that little section.
I haven't taken the tech training. I can just tell you, my folks are gonna take
You
the
don't
same
have to.
training every we do.
Well, they do.
We absolutely do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my folks have already been taking the same training that we rolled out. And remember, it's all user focused, so, you know, I mean, it's just, this is just another one of those unintended mandates. It's just like this year that every corrections officer that carries a weapon has to have a certificate. They have to have a piece of paper that says that they went through the training. Well,
So
all of
does
mine
every-
have been through that, and that was $35 a piece for every person.
Does every county in Texas have to do this, or just us because we got attacked? Just curious.
Every
Every county.
So is it possible to just approve that we participate, and once we have a better handle on how much overtime this is gonna come? Because I understand what you're saying, this is really an unfunded mandate, I wouldn't disagree with that. In the short term, we have to find the dollars in our budget, right? That's the hat that, I don't know if this is a $1,000 or a $10,000 line item that we're looking for.
And there are some people that would go, man, I'm doing it for CT, because then I can take off next week. But there are some that, oh, I'm gonna make, you're making me, I have to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't do that, but we.
Well, we have to do it, so.
There's options on whatever they wanna do, but if we're moving, that needs to be, and there again, like I said, where's that coming?
So is it fair, Sheriff, to approve it, and then once we know the impact of overtime, you bring it back to court? Yeah, because I don't think anybody's disagreeing that we need to do the training, it's just I'm trying to understand where the dollars are gonna come from. Because I'm assuming you don't have it in your budget.
That's why I was bringing
Yeah.
it to you, too. I don't know where you're coming from.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair question,
But there were,
yes.
we're on money.
I make a motion that we approve, Potter County, not just the sheriff's office, I'm gonna say Potter County, to participate in tax cyber security training program. And sheriff to present any overtime items back to the court.
Second.
So I have one question real fast. So, what other departments will have to be paid overtime? Will there be other departments too that will get paid overtime to do this?
I imagine like road and bridge, I mean, I think about people in the fields, you know, but I don't wanna speak for you, Savvy, or even Julie's office, if you're having to pull, you're working with it.
Okay, okay. All right, I have a motion, a second, all in favor, raise your hand.
I got a question. Are you saying that if they do the tax, everybody has to do the whole county? our
It's
county?
signed up as a county, not individual.
So everybody in the county has to do the tax.
Right, but I think that's actually a good idea for compliance.
I just want to make sure that everybody else, when they have to do the 45 minutes.
What she told me Friday was that they have not made the decision to just let individual departments do it. And so I asked for clarification on that, and so that's the question that I'm waiting on.
No, I think that's very helpful.
David, how soon can we get on and do this?
We can get the paperwork rolling today. For the tax. For the time. Yeah, I have to get y'all's blessing, and then we have to send an email with this paperwork back to them saying, yes, you agreed to it. And then, once they get it, then they can sign us all up to the.
Okay. The tax lawyer stated it Thursday, just like I had mentioned before. All county employees that have access to a county computer, and all elected officials have to take that.
There are some employees that do not have access to computers, I'm assuming, right? Like, in Sanders' office, they have access, they're just not on.
You don't have access, right?
Majority of them just,
Oh, they do, okay. They just don't use it though.
Well, we have people like that in jail, and they still have access. They may not spend all their time, because they have access.
The tax office, y'all have, everybody uses computers in your office? Okay. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. David, did you want to continue on with any kind of updates, because I know you have to go.
Yes, ma'am.
Number 19. Haven't seen you in a while. You doing okay? Good. Living the dream? Yeah.
So what I wanted to do for you guys today was use a little bit of visual, just, log in, if you'll bear with me here.
Perhaps you need some tech training.
Yes.
They have that same problem.
I need IT support is what I need. But I can tell you, while I'm waiting on that, I do have an update on the Spillman data conversion. Spillman, has got the mock data set up in another database that some of the, users can look at. And so the idea is some of the sheriff's office users who use Spillman are accessing that data and basically vetting it. Yes, this data's in the right place, where's this data? And providing feedback to Spillman. And once that round is done, there will be 2 more rounds of this same thing, where Spillman goes back, massages the data, massages the fields, comes back to the Potter County users, can you give us some feedback on this? There'll be 2 more rounds after this is done, and they have not given us a time frame on that, but that's the gist of how that will go. And so, are you guys able to see what I have up on the screen? Okay. So.
Rabbit hutch.
It could be. It could be. I'd like to present Nick and his crew. This is actually the custom cabinet that they made for the network rack in Julie's area. They did a really, really great job on it, and making sure that it fits in. Really, if you didn't know to look for it, I don't think you'd even know it was there now, except for our guy who's been working. I mean, that's kind of the deal with it. They did a really great job. There's lots of airflow. There's access from the back, and the little access panel. They were even able to find a grate that looks like it fits in that area. So if you haven't had an opportunity to swing by and take a look at that, I would ask that you do. This was just all part of the cabling job of that area, trying to make it look aesthetically pleasing and hide it as much as possible. Right before court, I walked up there with Commissioner McGee and kind of pointed out some of the cabling, and I think they did a great job. It's difficult to see unless you're looking for it. It's just the cable raceway.
And so we're really happy with the way that turned out. I think it was a good first area and kind of proof of concept that we'll be able to wire in all the other areas of the courthouse and really to get better service for all the users.
Yeah, and on that, I'm just waiting for an estimate on the next area. Next area is the hot checks section of county attorney's office. That's going to be 2 little network racks in that one area. We'll use switches that the county already has, so it's not going to be horribly expensive. And what I'm showing here, I want to talk just a little bit about the VxRail, because I've mentioned that lots of times, but I'm not sure that the court actually realizes what that is. So your current view on the left-hand side is just the front of the units, and on the right-hand side is just the back. Okay, 2 different views. But what the VxRail is, it's just an array of physical servers that we put together, and they're able to act as one source, as one resource, I'm sorry. So we're in the process, have been in the process of getting this up. We have it stable. This is the old setup. It's a blade server, so kind of the same thing. On the left-hand side, you have the front view. On the right-hand side, you have the back view. The idea, these are 2 clusters, two different resources, the VxRail and the original blade server, which is up on the screen. So the end goal is to have what you see on the screen out of the LEC. That's what's called a hot site, which is going to be part of the disaster recovery plan. So that if anything should happen here in the hub of the network, which is the same thing, we can roll people over to use the resources of the LEC. And going through this, I've been able to find some things that the county did not need, could not use. That's 2 circuits. One was a wireless circuit between Santa Fe and the jail. It was $1,600 a month. And the other was a failover internet connection out of the LAC, which could be used. That was $1,600, $1,700. Both of those be canceled to save the county money. We will wind up with another circuit out of the LAC when this is all done. But for now, we just want to save the county some money. The wireless link hasn't been used at all. And my hope, I have to give you guys a cure any time, but it's not a backup server. it's meant for what's called HA, high availability. So in the example of the ransomware, if this were all set up, when the ransomware came through, what would have happened is the servers, the VxRail at Santa Fe would have been infected, and then immediately, the second cluster out of the LEC would have been infected. And that's okay, that's the way this is designed to work. It's designed to replicate data quickly, in real time. That's what this is for, is disaster recovery, but there are different types of disaster. So, I also emailed all you guys over the weekend a draft of an IT security policy. And I think I kind of am pushing the idea for minimizing risk. Remember, we can't eliminate risk any more than law enforcement can eliminate crime. It's just reduce or mitigate. Okay. And something else I wanted to show you guys, I know you have access to the data, but the metrics, but I thought you might have some questions on what this is. So this is not real-time data. We will update this a couple times a month. I can let you guys know when this is updated. And these are pivot charts, pivot tables. So if you want to just take a look by department, this is hours logged by day, and you can see there's auditing as an example.
So to back up just a little, the link that was sent that has this dashboard, these are called KPIs, the key performance indicators of the IT department, and all data used by all of Potter County. So we are reporting now on all of these KPIs, so you'll be able to review this and see what's going on at a high level throughout the county. So how many tickets are being created by day, what kind of tickets are being created, is it software trouble, is it peripheral trouble, and then what department is entering how many tickets. So there's 6 different tables there. And so this link will always be up, and we'll update that data. But it'll give you all a good, 10,000 foot view into what's going on. And it supplements, I don't know if y'all have seen it, but every month we send with our invoice about a 40-page reporting of all the work that was done in the county. It's every single time entry of everything that was done by the IT department. But it's a giant, just list of things. So unless you really like to sit and read boring things, you're not going to look at that. So this will give you a good high-level view of what happens, and it helps us watch trends so we can see, are issues trending up, and if so, why? Are the same issues recurring, and if so, why? And helps us be more proactive in how to deal with what's going on. So as David said, this will get updated a couple times a month, and I'll shoot you an email. Hey, there's new data for you to look at. You can review it. If you have any questions, just
Looks like our EKG about 10 minutes.
That's right. That's right. So we're excited to be providing this to the IT department's never reported this kind of thing before, so I think it's a good accountability for what's going on.
And it might be helpful for the court, not every time, but maybe either once a quarter or every other month or once a month to just get a PDF copy of this, because we won't log in, right? I mean, I wouldn't expect anybody's in here logging in trying to see all this, but it gives us a good appreciation for which departments we're supporting, where are the biggest tickets coming from, where are there rooms to improve, all of those things, so.
And I think that's a great idea too, and I actually have some PDFs, I just didn't get a chance to email them this morning before court. Yeah, I like that.
But again, to the comments is, we've just never had visibility like this for IT before. It's one of those things, the department that you don't worry about as long as everything is rocking and rolling, and when something happens, we have lots of questions. So I think part of it is an effort for all of us, not just the court, but department heads in the audience to just kind of move along this journey with us. IT is an important function of the county. So anyway, thank you for the work.
One last thing to circle back to, David, emailed you all that plan this weekend. So David prepared this draft of what we would like the IT security plan for the county to be. So now we've given it to all of you, and so we will need that to be reviewed and approved so they can be implemented. So just want to be clear that what we submitted is what we recommend, and if there's any changes that are necessary legally or need capacity, just let us know, and then we'll be ready to implement that.
And Tad and Jackson both have this as well. I've met a couple times with them. I know Tad had a couple of edits or like a kind of bird's eye view. What do we want to accomplish by this? What's the goal? And I have a couple of simple edits as well. And just keep in mind that document isn't meant to be static. It will have to be reviewed and changed over time as new technologies and research happen.
That's it, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much,
Appreciate it.
appreciate that. We're gonna move to, hey, I'm gonna skip 14 for just 1 second. Sorry, I know you've been sitting there all day. I'm gonna go down to a couple that we have to vote on because Commissioner Church has to leave here in a few minutes. Number 15, deferred compensation plan to include payment of contract termination fee due to security benefit company in the amount of $2,857.84 in relation to Clark County's deferred compensation. Jackson.
You should have in front of you a one-page sheet from our contract, that's right, with security benefit, where we agreed to pay these on the front end. So because of revisions that we're undertaking to our 457 plan, these are now being tracked.
So where are these dollars coming out of?
That is a great question. And so I'm not sure what fund they would be coming out of. Do you have any idea?
I really don't, and I failed, I haven't gotten with Carrie on this. So I'm not sure.
And you do have the option of letting the security benefit participants pay the pro rata, that it would be just deducted from the accounts that security benefit is currently holding.
Yeah, because we're terminating, this, it has some history, so keep me honest, because I'm sure I'm gonna get some of this wrong, Tab. This is, we had a vendor on record, if I remember correctly, and we weren't sure if it was still active or not, and then it was active. Just that conversation?
Jackson probably knows more.
The security benefit is one of 4 service providers. They're essentially custodians. And so they're the only ones who are charging termination fees.
Okay, because we are terminating the
They will all be rolled over to Empower Retirement.
Which is the one A and B overseas? Okay, make sure it's that same conversation. So we're terming this, but they're charging the termination fees per their contract. So then I'll go back to the question I started with is, are we paying this out of our budget? And if so, where is that dollar coming from? Or is this passed on to the employee to terminate? Because this was the employee driven, keep me honest, to make this change. They weren't a good partner at the table, if I remember correctly.
Well, it was a benefit to the county, to the employees of the county.
Right.
And so, I
Who
think
pays
the county,
this?
I think the county ought to pay for it.
You think the county should pay for this?
Sure, these guys just thought about saving a couple $1,000 on the services they're paying for the internet stuff, so I understand it's an issue, but I also think this is a benefit to the county as a whole. It's a benefit to all the employees, and I think the county should look at trying to pay for this.
So where are these dollars coming from?
Nobody knows right now.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said on this outside.
Contingency.
Yeah, and it's, what is it, the 2,900 one-time fee?
So, would an option, I'm thinking back to when we had those meetings, would an option have been to just keep them as a matter of record, kind of keep them on the books, but employees could make the change to the Empower program and not really terminate it, so they get triggered these Does that question make sense?
I think
Would
that
we-
you're
could we just
saying,
kept them on record,
could
right?
we have let employees leave their funds with security benefit?
Yes.
I'm not sure that that would have been an option. This is a plan level change. We, as the county, are the sponsor of the plan. And so when we adopted A&B along with Empower as our plan advisor and record keeper, we made a plan change, and so all of the participants are now getting rolled over to Empower.
So I sat on that subcommittee, we did not know that this would trigger this, so for what that's worth for the court, that information was not known when we were vetting that. So again, it's an opportunity for us to look at these contracts, and as we're looking at plan changes to say, you're gonna trigger something, just be aware. Because I think in a perfect world, we should have come out of that committee and said, hey, commissioners, it's gonna trigger this dollar, where is it coming from, type of thing. We should have done that proactively. I feel like we're on the back end now. Right, but not that it would trigger this dollar amount. We didn't know. So what's the go ahead.
We met several weeks ago. Yeah.
So what's the recommendation of where these dollars would come from then?
We discussed it, we didn't know what the dollar amount was.
Okay.
We were going to try not to pay it.
Okay,
But this is where we're at right now.
so we are.
But I just wanted to make sure that we did have, the committee did.
Okay. But not a recommendation of where the dollars, or if we should pay the county or the employees.
That's up to you guys.
Well, I think it should be us paying.
I guess too.
It's unfortunate, what do you do? We made the change, we did make that decision earlier.
We're trying to get things in a position where this sort of thing doesn't happen again. We didn't have a lot to work with when this issue plan came to light. And I don't like these fees either. This is what we're trying to avoid in the future. With a new plan advisor and a new record. And new terms.
Well, under the terms, when we work with these people, do we have to pay for them? Is it something we are forced to do?
That's a good question.
No, it's a matter of getting the funds transferred from security benefit into our new.
So they got a hold of it.
We could get into litigation.
Cost you more than $2,000. How much is in the contingency?
I'm sure it's, I mean, you haven't done it to cover it. Yeah. This is not.
Well, I move that we approve the payment of $2,857.84 to Security Benefit Company for this deferred compensation plan.
Funds to come from.
Funds to come from the contingency.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson. And then go past number 16, service purchase, to consider and act upon approving a proposal for the digital imaging of district clerks' permanent retention records in the amount of $107,179.52, utilizing the state of Texas purchasing contract TMAS 1236010 from Co-File Preservation Inc. Funds to be taken from district clerk's records are current. This is, Julie, you did this before too, right?
Yes, that's what we have an ongoing, deal with.
It's our books, right? It's our books and it's our archive, and it's, what we collect that archive fee for, and I have to use it for that, and it's budgeted, and it's from the beginning of time, which I think is 1888 through 1950.
I don't remember that. I know you think I did, but that's.
Working on the beginning.
Study working in the judge's office.
And Ellis, yeah. So, okay, what is different, and I'm gonna ask both of y'all, what is different with this than what Sandra does already?
Well, see, I saw here. I thought they took our books and
They're restoring the books.
Oh,
And
restoring.
what they've done, whenever you came up in our office the other day and I had that nice
Yeah.
little, well, they're redoing that before I present that to you guys. But they're actually restoring, for in our office, like old commissioner court minutes where they talked about things that were not, they didn't have technology back then. And, so. Yeah, and so anyways, that's basically what they're doing in Carly's office too. She has like old oaths and bonds of elected officials. And so it's just preserving history, and that's what that fee was actually created for. That's why we collect it.
Okay. And this is budgeted, it's your, okay.
And are you planning on paying the full amount, the 107, or are you doing the payment plan with 2 fiscal years?
The payment, like this.
Okay, so 53 this budget year, 53 next budget year, and we'll earmark that, I'm assuming, for the budget.
And I've talked with Carrie, and we're good on that.
Okay. And I just need you to sign that.
Okay.
Get that back to Stacy.
Okay, can do that.
Thanks. I make a motion that we approve the digital imaging of district court's permanent retention records in the amount of $107,000, 179 cents and 50, or one, my goodness, 107. As stated in the agenda, funds to come from the district clerk's record archive. Not usually.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. 4-0, thank you. Okay, now we'll go back to number 14. Tax abatement application, to consider, receive public comment, and act upon application. We're really not gonna take any action today on this. So, I'm not gonna read the whole thing. If y'all have any questions, Mr. Jensen is here. But, where are we?
Public comments.
Just a public comment, okay.
So, could we receive the application? Could you send that back out if you don't mind in electronic form? I know we got a copy. I don't know if anything's changed from it. Yeah, the actual application process. And remind me, Tammy, if you don't mind, or Mr. Jensen, the amount of the tax abatement that you're requesting and for how long?
It's a 10-year tax abatement request. There will be pilot payment in lieu of taxes being made during the 10-year process. And I apologize, I can't remember the total request off the top of my head.
Okay, yeah, if we could, because I would imagine for anybody wanting to give public comment, they would at least need to know the amount that is on the table. But yeah, if you could send that in a follow-up, be great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Number 17, planning initiative to provide an update on the city, county, neighborhood planning initiative.
So you have some backup in your agenda, and I'll be quick just for the sake of time. This is a tracker that the city has now initiated, and it really is meant to give you a lens of what's happening kind of in each adopted neighborhood plan. So San Jacinto is through the final rounds of adoption, and it has already not occurred at the city council level, and East Ridge will be the one slated for 2020. A couple of things I just wanted to highlight. I know the North Heights plan had a groundbreaking, which involved Emerald Area Foundation for a linen service off the old Emerald Inn. They're off Emerald Boulevard. So that was great, really, to see all these banks come together for a new kind of co-op. Employees will own a piece of that business, and they are not minimum wage jobs. This was a key thing called out in the neighborhood plan. So I just like to highlight that. That was a $5 million project once we turned the dirt. So as these things start to happen, I like to put an agenda item on, because all of this adds to our tax base. At the end of the day, right, this is not a nonprofit that'll sit on there. So again, I call out our $75,000 little investment to be able to quantify, so you see the dollar of how that has been magnified through this effort. But I just wanted to kind of give you this detail. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Number 18, 2020 census, to hear an update on 2020 local complete count committee.
So we have participation on the local complete count committee for the census, as we're trying to ramp up for that in particular. And so Potter County sits on there, Commissioner Vaughn sits on there with myself. And so what I've given you is what's given to our government committee. There's different subsections of committees, but one in particular, March, we're looking at I think it's March 31st, that will be a big press release where all government and local elected officials kind of stand together and talk about the importance of the census. As we are getting closer, no big surprise, there's a lot of discussion to make sure we have accurate counting. Texas gets $43 billion. This rolls all the way down to little cities, little counties. And so it affects our Medicaid benefits, it affects our SNAP benefits, it affects, free and reduced lunches for the kids in the school district. So if people are not counted, what will happen is they'll have to reflect on that in their own budgets. You still have to provide school lunches as an example. So there really is an effort for everybody to come together and say, politics aside, people need to be counted, and what does that look like, right? And so there, I wanted to more than anything just kind of give you the timeline so you can figure out what's right for you to participate in. Happy to take any questions. Okay? Okay, thank you.
Number 20, employment items, resignation, extension office resignation of Bonnie Cunningham, program assistant effective January 14. The employment of Colleen Hancock as program assistant as replacement for Bonnie Cunningham effective March 2nd. That's in the extension office. Road and Bridge, the employment of Marty Dykes as maintenance tech as replacement for Jason Walker. Position and salary change, title change for Garland Gaston effective March 9. Position change only for Kenny Mayhew as replacement for Garland Gaston. Resignation of Joseph Ray Fosto as sign shop tech effective March 12. Position change of Lyndon Burrows to sign shop tech as replacement for Joseph Ray Fosto. Position change of Corey Tomlinson to equipment operators as maintenance tech as a replacement for Lyndon Burrows, and an employment of Ramiro Ballesteros as maintenance tech as replacement for Corey Tomlinson. Wow, you're busy. And then facilities maintenance, resignation of Amber Garcia as custodian 1 effective March 2nd. So, need a motion, second on this.
I make a motion that we approve the employment items as presented.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor, raise your hand, 3-0. Okay, Potter County projects, Mr. Wade.
One thing I have to say is Sixth Street is open for the time being, and we don't see what's happening over there. So, nothing, I don't want to take up a lot of time. So, fire station's looking good, there's moving along for a lot of concrete. Having a meeting happening right now, it's okay. I'll be there in a minute.
Okay.
And, anyway, so, maybe I'll have more next time.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Appreciate it. Jail report, 516 in our jail, 74 of those are female, and they're not farmed out. 86% are misdemeanor cases. Do we have any county insurance on interest? No executive session. Agenda items for next time.
Judge, you just have this addendum. Okay. Not a formal agenda item, but just a reminder that we have Government Day coming up. So those elected officials that are joining us for lunch, if you'll pay your $10 to Leanne, who I think is still here. She had to leave. Okay, so if you'll get that to Leanne for the food count.
Okay, and we do have an addendum. We had to file late Friday afternoon. Resolution, Indigent Defense Technical Support Grant Program to consider and act upon the approval of a resolution supporting a grant for the Indigent Defense Technical Support Grant Program. Judge Woodburn?
Sure.
Good morning.
Hello, everybody. I'm here to present the idea that the county should participate in a study that's being conducted by the Texas Indigent Defense Commission and Texas A&M. Potter County would be one of only 2 counties participating in this, so it's a real honor for us to have the opportunity to do so. I'm sure all of you know by way of background that district judges and county courts of law judges and Commissioner Vaughn and many of us are working diligently on trying to address indigent defense issues. Galveston County, Houston, and Dallas have all been the subject of federal lawsuits over issues having to do with bail and bail reform. And this is what this study is attempting to address, in that what will be contemplated is that when we have a magistration or a first appearance for an arrested accused person, the county will provide attorneys on an every other day basis for these folks that are incarcerated. I'm in hopes that maybe that will also help relieve some of the jail
conditions that we have. The idea is that the attorney will spend time communicating with each of these individuals before they're presented before Judge Jones, hopefully obtain information and be able to sell the idea of reduced bond on those who deserve it in a better way. And the reason it's every other day is the study is intended to determine whether having counsel for the accused at arraignment will be, will substantially address or reduce the amount of bonds that are set. And we have signed off by the district attorney as well as all the other folks that are involved with this that we feel like are important. The commission wanted the support of the Carter County Commissioners to proceed with this. And so that's what I'm presenting to you today, a resolution that we support this grant program. I did notice that the date on here is incorrect. It should say 2020, it's the 21 at the top. So other than that,
Okay. This is the resolution that you attached, is that, we go
That's
with
it,
that one?
yes.
Okay. All right.
Judge, is this for a specific time period?
yeah, for about 6 months.
6 months.
I'm not sure exactly how long it's gonna last. And again, the county won't be out of nickel.
Sure.
Judge Weaver is working on a set of attorneys who are willing to go out and take the time and be there. And those folks will be compensated by Texas A&M in this process.
And is it safe to assume we'll receive a report at the end of that, of the findings of this
Oh, yeah.
study? Okay,
Absolutely.
okay.
We have worked
Okay.
very hard on this, haven't we? Judge?
Yes, we have. And we're-
Scott's on it too.
I
I'm
did
on it.
mention that, of
Yeah,
course,
it's been
Judge Stanner is
Yeah.
also involved. with
It's
that.
fun.
We've got a long way to go before we can get something done. Thank you.
It's definitely needed.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Judge. Okay.
I make a
If
motion.
you'll, I was gonna suggest that if, after it's executed,
I'll get it back to you. Okay, thank you.
I make a motion to approve the resolution supporting a grant for the Indigent Defense Technical Support Grant Program.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand.
thank you all.
When will
Thank
this
you.
start, Judge?
Judge, when will this start exactly?
I'm
Do
sorry?
we have a start date on this?
Very soon. No, I don't have exactly, but I'm gonna say probably within a month.
Okay,
Okay, all right.
thank you. Okay. If that is all, no more comments, we are done. Thank you, everybody.